Make sure you guys smash that subscribe button if you guys are fans of the content being posted onto this channel to always be in the loop with more content similar to this, and be sure to hit the video up with a like if you're enjoying the content. And with that being said, let's begin. The Resident Evil franchise is beloved by literally millions of people from all around the world, and for many years, many fans within the Resident Evil community have often wanted to see a good Resident Evil movie be made, other than the animated movies, which of course are regarded as being the absolute best movies within the franchise. The live action films involving Milla Jovovich, directed and produced by Paul W.S. Anderson, not so much. And with all of the rumors going around that Netflix is supposed to be adapting a Resident Evil story in the form of an actual series for Netflix, the question is, can they do it right, and can they stick to the actual formula of what made Resident Evil Resident Evil? Now, on today's video, we're going to be discussing the overall pragmatics of how they could create a good Resident Evil TV show without diving too much into the nitty-gritty of including things that really don't make any sense, which right off the bat from the beginning, we've learned about this rumored synopsis that the Netflix adaptation is supposed to include Albert Wesker having two daughters that are actually twins, and Albert Wesker being portrayed as someone that is supposed to be a loving father, and the aftermath of the T-virus having to affect the world, specifically having the events surround itself around Maryland and the Spencer Mansion. Now again, when going back to the original concept of what they could do with a possible Resident Evil TV show, it's not really hard for them to dive into the original lore of what made Resident Evil 1 so special, with Barry Burton, Chris Redfield, Jill Valentine, Rebecca Chambers, Albert Wesker, Brad Victors, and stuff like that. So when going back to the original concept, what they can ultimately do is really adapt the Resident Evil 1 video game through the form of expanding the TV show into several seasons just solely based off the first game alone. By having to take the story and the narrative of the first game, they could easily drag that out into having multiple episodes, possibly for multiple seasons, before directly diving into Resident Evil 2 if they were to do that. So I think that when looking at concepts like The Walking Dead and how they always kept the narrative the same up until at a certain point, they could ultimately do that with Resident Evil 1 for a Netflix adaptation. For example, can you imagine if they were to take the story of Resident Evil 1 and kind of have that be dragged along by having an expanded season going up until season 3 or season 4 before diving into Resident Evil 2 and Resident Evil 3, and giving the fans exactly what they want in return for profit? Because when you satisfy your fans, fans are going to come back for more, they're going to invest and buy more of your products, and thus supporting the franchise that you continuously pump out, and that really isn't a secret. So for them to actually go about this in a different direction and seemingly continue the live action films, which are objectively god-awful in their overall approach, their overall narrative, so if they were to do that and adapt a TV show or a Netflix special involving that specific narrative with Albert Wesker having these daughters and keeping the narrative the same to where it feels like they're continuing off of the live action films, then your ratings are going to plummet, nobody's going to care, and your overall franchise is going to die just because of your own incompetence on not following the main source material and keeping things canon the way they're supposed to be. A good example of a live action movie that adapted a video game properly was Sonic, right? We've seen many movies in the past that tried to replicate that. For example, Need for Speed, Doom, Resident Evil, and they all failed. They all failed because each of these movies decided to switch up the narrative and do things differently that weren't a part of the actual main source material, but instead created a new subplot, created new characters that really nobody even gave a damn about, and thus resulted in a flopping product. And fans don't want to see that. And if you're someone that really wants to see an objectively good TV show or movie, then drop your comments in the comment section below as to what you guys would do, because I think that by adapting the Resident Evil 1 story first and have that actually be a thing and expanding that perhaps maybe 8 to 10 episodes per season, give or take about 2 to 3 to maybe 4 seasons per Resident Evil game, I think that would be suitable, because if each episode is supposed to be 45 minutes to an hour long, then they could ultimately expand each character presented. They could actually build a suitable enough of a world for people to care about, and thus go into Resident Evil 3, Resident Evil 4, Resident Evil 2, and etc. in the future if they want to go on ahead and continue the franchise franchise of Resident Evil if, of course, they end up seeing a boost in ratings and everyone seems to objectively care about the show itself, which could happen. It's not outside the realm of possibility, but even then, I have no idea what in the world these people are thinking by straying away from the overall main canon that was of Resident Evil. It shouldn't really be that hard to take the story and concept of Resident Evil and actually adapt that through the form of good writing, good development, good world building, and have that be presented through the form of an actual movie or TV show if done right. Now, can you imagine with a Netflix budget what they could ultimately do if they were to be given the creative freedom to go back and revisit that? It's not bad to change certain things around if they were to stick to the actual main source material, but so as long as they actually follow by that and abide by that, do I only believe that fans are going to be satisfied, producers, executives, and directors are going to be satisfied, and thus both parties win. It shouldn't be something to where only one party begins to benefit from this, because you can't really have both parties benefit if the product is absolute shit. So by looking at the overall rumored spoilers and synopsis and leaks for this upcoming TV special or Netflix special, it's going to flop because real hardcore Resident Evil fans aren't going to be invested in something that reminds them so much of what Paul W.S. Anderson did with the Resident Evil franchise by including his wife in every single movie, by allowing her to become the Superman, the Thor, the Goku of the show, and being literally invincible to the point where she was not only dominating zombies, but she was dominating tyrants, she was dominating Nemesis, she was dominating clones, and that in and of itself did not feel like Resident Evil. Paul W.S. Anderson's Resident Evil product was not Resident Evil. Objectively, it wasn't, and those that have been following the franchise since the beginning will absolutely agree with that in telling you that Paul W.S. Anderson's work is not considered Resident Evil because they strayed away from the main source material. Now, it shouldn't be hard to write in Chris Redfield. Can you imagine if they actually expanded this and gave us a good TV special to where Netflix decided, hey, let's continue this and dive into Resident Evil 4. Can you imagine Resident Evil 4 be told through the form of a Netflix special or through the form of having a season involving Resident Evil 4, Leon having to go out there in Europe and try to look for Ashley, coming across the Big Cheese, coming across Lord Sadler, coming across Salazar, and people like that? It would be incredible, especially with Netflix's budget. But I do believe that if we were to see, and if we end up getting what we heard about these leaks and these rumors about how the virus had already passed 20 plus years and Albert Wesker was supposed to be a good guy, but he has secrets and he has these twin daughters that are supposed to be doing their own thing, and we're going to be going to Washington, to Maryland, and exploring more of what happened after the apocalypse, then what's the overall point, right? Whatever happened to Raccoon City, whatever happened to, you know, Jill Valentine, Claire Redfield, Chris Redfield, Leon S. Kennedy, hell, even if they were to include Jake Wesker, who was supposed to be Wesker's son in Resident Evil 6, I would rather take that than anything we're going to be getting from this upcoming rumored Resident Evil series. It should be alarming. It should be alarming to a lot of people because it's not sticking to the main narrative, and at this point, simply, it looks like they're just doing this for money. However, this is where you guys come in, because you guys have a voice. If you guys were to voice your opinions, I mean, we can make change in the world. We've made changes significant enough that impacted TV shows and movies and literally changed the world. So I would like to get your thoughts and feedback in the comment section below about what you guys believe would be objectively the best thing for Resident Evil when looking at Netflix, when looking at what they can ultimately do with the property of Resident Evil for a TV show or potential movies. I want to get your thoughts and feedback down in the comment section below. Again, thank you all so much for your time. I hope you guys enjoyed. If, of course, you guys are new to this channel, then I do encourage you guys to smash that subscribe button and turn on all notifications by clicking on the bell icon to never miss a single upload. And, of course, if you guys want to see a really good Resident Evil product and agree with what I'm saying, then be sure to give this video a big thumbs up by slapping that like button down below. It pisses me off because Resident Evil was something that I really grew up with, and for years I was backing this product and even going as far as to watch the live action films because I just really had a love and passion for this franchise. And to see the Resident Evil franchise become what it is today, especially through the form of live action, it's complete garbage. The games are still great, the animated movies like Damnation and stuff like that are just amazing, but the live action franchise is just utter garbage, and I can't seem to wrap my head around why. We have productions and TV shows like Game of Thrones, Walking Dead, stuff like that, The Witcher, and when looking at how these TV shows and specials are made, you can't sit there and tell me that Resident Evil can't adapt that and use that to grow its product and becoming something great. And I really hope that that ends up being the case and we don't have to wait 5, 10, 15 years to see something different. So again, I want to get your thoughts and feedback in the comment section below. Thank you all so much for your time. I hope you guys enjoyed. Tune back in for more. Check out some of the other previous videos we have on the channel, guys. I hope you guys really do enjoy them, and I'll be seeing you all down in the comment section below. Have a great day, everybody. Peace.